right, today we're going to unlock a strategy that will absolutely change how your students argue, write, and, well, how they think. It's called claim, evidence, and reasoning. And trust me, this simple framework is the key to turning them into much clearer, more logical, and way more persuasive communicators.
Of course you have, right? We all make arguments every single day. And you know what? So do our students. The real question isn't if they're arguing, it's how do we help them make those arguments so much stronger? And it all starts by figuring out where they usually go wrong.
We've all heard this one, the classic unsupported claim. A student says something just like this, and hey, it's a perfectly fine opinion to have, but as an argument, it's kind of empty, right? It just falls flat. It's missing the why and the how. And this right here is the exact challenge that the claim evidence reasoning framework was built to solve.
So here's our game plan for the next few minutes. First, we'll look at why arguments often fall flat. Then we'll break down the CER formula and see it in action. After that, we'll talk about how to get your students from their first try to total mastery. And we'll wrap up by looking at this as a powerful persuasion toolkit they can use anywhere.
So let's get right to it. What is that core challenge? Well, students are full of amazing ideas, but so often they just serve them up as simple statements. They give us the what, but they leave out the how and the why, and that leaves their arguments with no solid foundation to stand on.
And that, right there, is where our solution comes in. The CER formula. You're going to love this. It's a simple, structured, and honestly, an incredibly effective way to teach students how to build a logical argument from the ground up. It just breaks the whole process into 3 easy-to-remember steps.
Okay, first up is the claim. This is pretty straightforward. It's the student's main point. It's their answer to whatever question you've posed, their stance on an issue. You can think of it as the what I believe part of the argument. Simple. Okay, next up, evidence. Now this is the backbone of the entire argument. These are the facts, the data, the quotes you pull from a text. It's all the hard information that proves the claim is actually valid. This is the prove it part, you know? It's not about feelings, it's about facts.
And finally, the third piece, reasoning. Now, this can be the trickiest part for students, but honestly, it's the most important. It's the magic. Reasoning is the glue that connects the evidence back to the claim. It's the part where the student has to answer that all-important question, so what? Why does this matter? So you put it all together, and what do you get? A simple, repeatable process. A student makes a claim, they back it up with solid evidence, and then they explain their reasoning. Claim, evidence, reasoning. This 3-step flow gives them a clear path to a powerful argument every single time. Okay, theory is great, but let's see what this actually looks like in a classroom. We're going to model this whole strategy with a topic that, believe me, every student has an opinion on. Let's watch how these separate pieces come together to build a really strong argument.
Okay, let's do a quick think aloud here. The topic is longer recess. So what's my claim? Simple. Recess should be longer. Easy enough. Now for the evidence. I can't just say 'cause it's fun. I need a fact. So my evidence is studies show physical activity improves focus. Okay, that's solid. Now the reasoning. How do I connect that fact back to my claim? My reasoning is if students are more focused, they'll perform better academically. You see, that explains why the evidence actually matters for my claim.
And when you stitch all 3 of those pieces together, bam, you get this. A clear, logical, and persuasive statement. It takes a simple opinion and totally elevates it into a well-supported argument. That is the power of this framework in action.
Now, when you're ready to introduce this to your students, start small and make it fun. Use really low-stakes topics like whether pizza should be on the lunch menu every day. That takes the pressure off and lets them just focus on the structure. Having them work in pairs to brainstorm and using sentence starters like "the evidence shows that" are fantastic ways to build their confidence right from the start.
So, once your students get the hang of the basics, we start the journey from just practicing it to really mastering it. This part is all about scaffolding that process and getting ahead of those common roadblocks you're probably going to see along the way.
So here are some really clear do's and don'ts. Absolutely do teach each part one by one and use graphic organizers. They work wonders. But you want to avoid that temptation to skip the reasoning step. And whatever you do, avoid doing the reasoning for them. The whole goal is to let them find their own way to connect the dots, even if it's a little messy at first.
But let's be real, it's not always going to be a smooth ride. it's inevitable that students will get stuck. So what do you do then? Whether they can't find good evidence or their reasoning just feels totally disconnected, there are simple, effective moves you can make to get them right back on track.
Let's just look at a few of the big ones. If their evidence is weak, spend some time practicing how to find strong evidence together. If they just completely skip the reasoning, model it again for them using those sentence frames. And what if a student can't even seem to write a clear claim? Just let them talk it out first. A lot of times, just saying an idea out loud makes it so much clearer before they even try to write it down.
You know, when you really get down to it, teaching CER is about so much more than just one assignment. It's about giving students a foundational skill they can use for the rest of their lives. It's a powerful and permanent addition to their persuasion toolkit.
And that's the real game changer here. This isn't just for an English class. It's for explaining a lab results in science, for defending an argument about history, for analyzing a character's motives in a novel. It builds critical thinking skills that are absolutely essential, everywhere. At the end of the day, this is what it's all about, isn't it? Our goal as educators is to help shape students who can think clearly, reason logically, and express themselves in a persuasive way. CER is a direct, powerful tool that helps us do exactly that.
So, the final thought I want to leave you with is this. With a framework this simple and this effective, the possibilities are just endless. From silly classroom debates to serious academic papers, you're giving them the tools to make their voices heard. So, what powerful arguments will your students build first?